Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Astranti Connect. Today, we're going to be talking about the complex relationship between social media usage and mental health. This is an essential topic for anybody who is aspiring to be a counsellor or a therapist, any practicing counsellors or therapists, or just anybody that's interested in psychology and mental health. So let's get started. As we already know, social media is a double-edged sword. On the positive side, it has transformed the way that we connect and communicate. It has provided a platform for connection, awareness, and self-expression. And nowadays, mental health advocacy has never been so visible. If we look at trending hashtags like self-care matters or mental health awareness, these campaigns have normalized how we talk about mental health. They've normalized the conversations around mental health and mental well-being, and they've helped to break down the stigma on a worldwide reach. However, there is a dark side to social media, one that we as future therapists and counsellors need to be aware of and understand. And we'll go into a bit more detail about what that is after we've unpacked the pros of social media in a bit more detail. Starting with the positive impact, social media isn't always bad. It's not inherently wrong, and it provides some incredible opportunities for fostering well-being, such as number one is supportive environments. So some platforms host pages or groups, if we look at Facebook support groups, for example, that create a safe space for individuals to share their struggles. For example, there is a support group on Facebook that you can join called the Anxiety, Depression, Panic and Stress Support Group. It has over 200,000 members, and people join it so they can share their tips and their stories. Platforms like this could be a really good idea for anybody that feels like sharing with their friends and family is a little bit too intimidating, but sharing openly online is a little bit less fear-provoking. Number two is anonymous sharing. This sort of lends itself to the previous point, but there are apps and forums that users can utilize where they can share their feelings and their stories anonymously and have less of this fear of judgment. And as you can imagine, this is probably more preferred for those people that are really hesitant to open up in person. The third positive is shared experiences. So for this one, think of TikTokers or influencers who openly share their mental health journeys. If you look at hashtags like mental health matters or mental health awareness, these videos have got millions of views and they connect people that have the same struggles worldwide. We've seen from TikTok especially that people opening up about their feelings and their experiences can produce some really high views. This isn't necessarily a great factor by itself because people might assume that somebody is talking vulnerably just to boost their following or boost their view numbers. But it does speak to how we as humans like to see people that we idealize and look up to share openly and honestly about their feelings and just be a little bit human. Number four is peer support. Look at hashtags like End the Stigma, which leads to threads where people offer encouragement and offer advice. And actually, End the Stigma specifically was created so people feel less stigma when they open up about their mental health conditions. The fifth one has to be mental health resources. Professionals now have a new platform where they can share evidence-based mental health tips with millions of followers. And this kind of content can create immediate accessible support to those who might not have access to therapy, for example, otherwise. Inspirational content has to be on here as well. If you look at accounts like Humans of New York, they regularly post raw and uplifting stories that inspire hope and human connection. Lastly, I'd say creative expression is really important. If you look at platforms like Instagram or Pinterest, they allow people to work their self-expression into forms such as photography, writing, artwork, anything really that utilizes creativity. But unfortunately, as we know, there are significant challenges tied to excessive social media use. Studies consistently show a correlation between excessive use of social media and problems like anxiety, depression, or self-esteem issues. But why exactly does this happen? Well, I think there are three main reasons, and let me unpack what they are. The first reason is comparison culture. Social media provides a highlight reel of somebody else's life. Consider TikTok influencers who only post about luxurious holidays, perfect bodies, and dream jobs. For the average user, this could be inspirational content, or it could just muster up lots of feelings of inadequacy. A key real life example here is that many young people report feeling less self-confidence after scrolling through Instagram, where filters and editing apps are used to create really unattainable beauty standards. And if we look at this example through an even smaller lens, you could say that this could be a major drive for things like body dysmorphia or even maladaptive behaviors such as disordered eating. The second reason why some people might have an unhealthy relationship with social media is that ultimately it's a dopamine driven behavior. But what do we mean by this? The instant gratification that we receive after getting likes and comments leads to a dopamine hit. And over time, worst case scenario, similar to how gambling works, this could lead to a dependency. As a real life example, let's take a teenager who gets really severe anxiety after posting on Instagram. Maybe she doesn't receive a certain number of likes within the hour, and that triggers it. This type of validation seeking can take a serious toll on your feelings of self-worth. The third and final point is cyberbullying, a term that we're probably all pretty familiar with by now. Platforms can sometimes become really toxic environments where anonymous users will target other users. According to a Pew Research study, almost half US teens used in this study have experienced some form of online harassment. This was 46% of teenagers aged 13 to 17 had reported being at one point cyberbullied or harassed online. And for most people, physical appearance was a really common reason why. They also found that older teenage girls were much more likely to report that they had experienced some kind of online harassment or abuse, and it was because of their physical appearance. But you might be wondering, where does the role of a therapist fit in here? And what does this mean for those of us who are aspiring to be counsellors or therapists? Understanding how social media impacts your clients is essential. At some point, you'll really likely encounter somebody who is being affected by online interactions. And that is even more so the case if you're dealing with young people. These are what I would say is the three biggest issues that can arise from online interactions. One we have is cyberbullying. So, as well as reporting interactions and also signposting them to the relevant authorities, helping your clients to build resilience and develop strategies to cope with digital harassment is really important. The second is body image issues. So, this is dealing with the body dysmorphia that is tied to these unrealistic and idealized social media portrayals. And lastly, there's digital burnout. So, this is working with clients to reclaim that balance in their life of when to use social media and when to step away. If this is an area that interests you, make sure you check out our website at Astranti Connect. The link is in the description below, but you can have a look there at all the qualifications that you need to become a fully qualified counsellor in the UK, where you could be helping clients that are dealing with issues just like these. So after unpacking all of those negatives, and so we can leave on a high, let's talk about some practical steps to a healthier online presence. These aren't one size fits all, but they are well-renowned tips to help yourself or your future clients develop a healthier relationship with social media. Firstly, set boundaries. You can use apps like Apple's Screen Time, or you can use apps like Freedom to limit your social media usage. A general good rule of thumb is try not to scroll during meals, and also try to avoid using social media within an hour before going to bed. Number two is curate your feed. If you're going to use social media, use it for the best. So actively follow accounts that uplift you or educate you. A mental health advocate, for example, and try to actively click not interested or don't want to see this again on any content on your feed that has an adverse effect on how you feel. Thirdly, we have practicing mindfulness. So before and after scrolling on social media, just pause and ask yourself, how do I feel right now? Do I actively want to engage in this behavior right now? And this simple practice can just help you acknowledge how you feel before and after scrolling, whether you think it's harmful or helpful, and just take a bit more control over that action. And lastly, let's promote some real world connections. So encourage yourself or your clients to spend time with friends and family, or maybe take up an offline hobby just to balance out these digital interactions. And that is all we have. So if you found this information helpful or you found this video interesting, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more mental health and counselling content. And let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on the relationship between our mental health and our social media usage, or our screen time and online presence. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.